Welcome. I'm going to talk about another really simple tool to enhance your teaching, which is the concept of the one-take video. It's certainly not my idea. It's a pretty basic concept though. The idea is that we have a plethora of tools to record ourselves talking about our educational content. Pretty much every smartphone, iPad, iPod, pretty much almost any device with a camera will enable you to record in a variety of video qualities simply, and then grab those and upload those to some kind of video sharing site. Teachers, however, have taken a little bit of time to get on board with this. The Khan Academy, I think it was 2011 plus, really showed how this could work. When you make videos of high quality that are fairly straightforward to understand, using all those communication skills that teachers naturally have, students will learn. Students will learn as effectively, perhaps even more effectively, than the single once in a classroom delivery of that content. The concept here though is not to replace or remove the teacher, but to shift the role for the teacher in the classroom. And this shift kind of really fits with what most teachers actually really want to do in their classroom. Most teachers want to appeal to extending those capable students, and enhancing the experience of the middle level students, and really intervening and giving extra time to the students that are struggling with the content that's being presented. This can't happen as effectively in a traditional kind of classroom where most of class time or a fair proportion is spent delivering content to a class in a one-to-many kind of concept. So the one-take video says, well, let's grab that content, let's make that easily available to students at any point, anytime, anywhere, outside the classroom, before class, after class, during class, and then let's shift what the teacher actually does in class. This liberates or frees them up to do often what they'd prefer to be doing, which is discussions, collaborative work on content, engaging higher order thinking skills, challenging students, extending students, working in small groups, and so forth. So it's a great concept. As I said, it's not my idea, and I'd probably point you pretty much to this particular website. This particular guy has a PhD, and he works through why the flipped classroom in terms of this one-take video kind of works. He encourages having the teacher present in the video because this actually allows the teacher to reflect upon their teaching practice by seeing themselves lecture. I'll show you a bit of a sample, so let's grab one. Here we go.
I've been teaching math for the last 5 years, and this is why I flipped my classroom. This is what my classroom used to look like. I was teaching to the middle group of the class, the students that could follow along with what we were doing, and we were going through the content, while I had a group of higher level students not challenged, bored with the information, ready to move forward. And I had a struggling group of students that were not receiving enough effective remediation. They didn't have the basic content they needed to be working on the content we were currently covering, or they needed more help in order to be successful. This led to a 90% use of class time being spent on delivery and review of content. 90% of the time I was at the front of the classroom lecturing to a group of students, and I wasn't meeting all of their needs. 10% of class time was actually spent on application, which led to, depending on students, to do the application needed to be successful. They had to go home or outside of class and work on applying the concepts that I was giving out in class. This constant battle of not reaching the needs of all students and feeling the need to differentiate for all of my learners allows teachers to feel overwhelmed and ineffective because we see the need for differentiation, but there's just not enough time for effective differentiation. This called for a drastic change in how we teach. This is where flipping the classroom comes in. Now the students outside of class preload the content. They get the information they're going to need for class. They can pause, rewind, and rewatch the videos as many times as they need to. They can post questions online to their classmates or to the teacher. And it's a self-paced program where they can be remediated by going back and reviewing former topics, or they can work ahead when they've already mastered a concept and are ready to look forward. They get the content here before class so that when they come into class, my whole classroom has now shifted, where I'm at the center of the class, working between these differentiated groups focused on different pieces of application. I can now work between each of these groups that are moving at their own pace. This has created a 90% use of class time spent on application of the content, and 10% of class time is spent on delivery of content, when I can answer questions that have been posted or take any other questions that have come up from applying the content.
It's worth noting this is where we engage, particularly in terms of application of content, with higher order thinking skills, the synthesis, the analysis, and so forth. You should note as I'm playing this video that this could be even used in a class context where you actually pause the video, make comment, and then allow it to continue. Let's go on.
Now in my classroom, all students are engaged and challenged. I have time to work with each group, give them individualized time and instruction as they need, and I can actually work between each of the groups to provide effective differentiation for all my varied groups of learners. My struggling students, my middle group of learners, and I can now extend and expand on my higher level students' prior knowledge and challenge them in the classroom.
Okay, so there are obviously more questions here. Does it work for every student? What about access to the content and so forth? It's worth noting, if you go to this particular website, that you can look at those kind of questions, and I'll show you some examples. They give you all the practical ideas. They work with the kind of board concept and the sliding boards. You can check that all out, all the mechanics of how this works. They've got some samples there that you can look at. They've got the rationale for the actual program. That particular teacher we just saw talks about things like, what about students that don't have access? What if they don't watch the videos, and how do you work about that? So you can work through all those kind of questions, but the bigger question is, are teachers willing to take the tools that are available to them to shift what they do in the classroom? And probably more importantly, how will this affect the learning of students? How will students respond to this? How will they view class time when it shifts to this kind of, I guess, paradigm? It's worth looking through these and having me to think about it. We've looked in a few previous videos about a few tools that will help you do this. I think probably the best way to go forward is to try a couple of the tools that I've recommended for a couple of maybe lectures that you do with your class, and get a bit of class feedback. Shift what you do in the class away from that lecture content, push that out of the class, change what you do inside the class, and then get student reviews on that content, and even think through that process yourself. If you have any questions, feel free to shoot them through to me, but also you'll find a huge range of resources on this particular website. I hope you find this helpful, and I look forward to catching you again soon.